Hi, this is Chris Converse, and in this episode, we'll take a standard hyperlink and transform it into a button, creating a much more compelling call to action. We'll also be making use of a CSS pseudo element to create a text-based arrow, as well as setting up a hover state. So if you'd like to follow along, download the exercise files, and let's begin by opening the index.html file in a text editor. And once you have the file open in your text editor, you'll see that we have a really simple web page here. And if you'd like to preview what we have so far, you can open up the index.html file up in a web browser. And here you can see we have a background image with a text block. So over in the HTML, you'll see that after the paragraph content, we have an anchor link showing up down here, which we can also see over here in the preview area. So this is how we style the default text links. So before we conform this into a button, the first thing we'll do is add a class to this anchor tag. So over in the HTML file, let's come in here and add class equals, 2 quotes, and then the letters BTN for button. This way, the changes we make won't affect all of the anchor links, they'll only affect the ones with a class of button. And so with that change in place, let's go back to the exercise files, and let's open up the file called style.css in our text editor. So inside here, you can see all the styles that make up this basic page layout. So let's scroll down to the bottom. And here we can see the 2 links that style the basic anchor tags. So we have an anchor and an anchor with a pseudo class of hover. So that's the hover state. So let's add a few lines and let's come down here and create a rule that's going to target the anchor tags with a class of button. So we'll type a.btn, put in our brackets, I'll hit a few returns and space this out. So the first property we're going to set is going to be the display type. So we'll set display to inline block. Now we're doing this in case the anchor link actually wraps to 2 lines. We'll get the entire anchor link element inside of one rectangle. So on the next line, let's set some margin properties. So we'll use shorthand style here. So for the top and bottom, we'll set 10 pixels, and for the right and left, we'll set 0. Next, we'll set the text color. So that's color, colon, space, a pound sign. We're going to set 00 for red, 8C for green, and DA for blue. And that's going to give us that sort of medium blue color we can see over in the preview. Next, we'll set a background color, so the type's easier to read. And for the background color, we're going to set this to white, so pound sign and 3 Fs. Next line, let's set some padding. So that's going to give us some padding inside of that white box. So we're going to set this to 8 pixels for the top and bottom, and then 20 pixels for the right and the left. Next line, let's set border dash radius. We're going to set this to 7 pixels. That'll give us some rounded corners. Next, we'll set text decoration. We're going to set this to none. That's going to remove the underline. And then finally, let's set the font size a little bit smaller. And then next, we'll set the font weight. We're going to set this to 700. And then finally, we'll set the font size to 0.9 ems, making it 10% smaller than the paragraph text. And so with these rules in place, now let's use a pseudo element to add a text arrow that points to the right. So a.btn, then 2 colons, then the word after. Put in our brackets, let's hit a return. And in order for a pseudo element to show up, we need to add the content property. So we'll type content, colon, then a space, 2 tick marks for a string, then a semicolon. And then inside the string, we're going to use the Unicode character for the double right arrow. So that'll start with a backslash, 00, and then 2 capital Bs. So now we can see that showing up in the preview after the letter E and more. Then after the content property, let's add a padding left, and we'll set this to 8 pixels, just to give us a little more space between the arrows and the text. And then finally, we'll add a hover state to our button. So next, let's add another selector, a.btn, 1 single colon, then hover, creating a pseudo class. And here we'll start by changing the color. So we'll set the text color to white. So that's pound sign and 3 Fs. And now I'll set the background color to match the color of the type. So background color, colon space. I'll come up here and copy the pound sign, 008CDA. Come down here, paste it. And so with these in place, you can go over to your browser, and then if you move your cursor over top of the button, you'll now see all of the hover state properties. Now if you'd like to see more examples of transforming hyperlinks into buttons, check out Chapter 2 of our course called Creating Responsive Web Design here in the library. And to explore more things that you can do with pseudo-elements, we have another course here entitled Graphics and CSS Pseudo-Elements. And so that concludes our brief look at turning a hyperlink into a button. And, as always, thanks for watching.